I think A Tale of Our Time is a narrative that reflects the communal value of our generation and also shines spotlight on the life of people of our times.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tales of Our Times. This is a show where we discuss the stories that move us, what makes them so meaningful, and why others could or should find meaning in them as well. This is not a spoiler-free show, so bear that in mind as you continue to listen. We tackle books, movies, comics, and more. Where there's a story, there's a reason to read or watch in today's episode. So I'm your host, Amanda Stevens. And today I'm joined by, in my mind, a very illustrious guest, another co-host, Wanson.
Hi, Amanda.
I am so happy to have you here.
Yeah.
Because I feel like our shows touch on very similar topics.
Yeah, and most importantly, they're all in the category of arts.
We're the only two in the category of arts.
Yeah.
So if you go to RTI's website, there are categories that sort the shows. For a long time, it was just me. And then Wanson, who is a huge movie buff, I discovered, started his own show.
Yeah.
And has joined me. And we're holding down the fort here.
Yeah, trying to bring the cultural energy and the stories and beautiful things in our lives into the radio station.
Yes. We're really, really trying to flex our English majors here.
Yes.
So, anyway, Wanson, is there anything you would like to say to introduce yourself?
Yeah, okay, so let me introduce myself. I'm Wanson. I am, in fact, 20 years old, and this is actually my second year at RTI. I've been hosting a show about students, but now it's a show called Motif. And as Amanda just said, I am a student studying in languages and literature, English major, and I'm actually learning French as well. So that's why today I'm going to talk about a movie from France.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And aside from that, I'm a movie buff, a film columnist, recently a TV presenter, and also a content creator and freelance journalist, doing everything related to media.
You must be extremely busy in your day-to-day life, I feel like. Oh my God.
Aside from being a student.
Yeah.
So many things.
In addition to also studying at school.
And still trying to find time to, watch movies.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you for giving us some of your time today. Like I said, I'm very excited to get into today's topic. So, what is the movie that you've brought for us today?
This movie is called Synonyms, or in French, Synonyms. Right.
Luckily, I think I know what that one means. Luckily.
Okay, so I'll probably talk about stories a little bit. It's a 2019 movie. Yeah.
And the director, you just told me a minute ago, was Nadav Lapid?
Yes. So this is a movie that has won the Golden Bear Award at the Berlin Film Festival.
Ooh.
Yeah, or in Berlinale, if you're a movie buff, you know the German name of the festival. And yeah, this is a really, really renowned film in 2019.
Would you like to give us a summary about it?
Okay, sure.
And just a mild content warning for today's show. We are going to be talking on just a brief mention of sexual abuse. So if that's not for you, just know that it's coming, or perhaps skip the summary.
So this film talks about the leading character, Yoav. He's a young Israeli man, and he decides to move to Paris to flee his own identity as an Israeli man, because basically he hates his nationality. He hates being someone from Israel, because Israeli people, they are lots of the times obsessed with nationalism and also obsession with something related to military. Of course, they try to defend themselves.
Very topical.
Yeah, so Yoav does not like that. So he decides to move to Paris. But then, actually in Paris, he wants to become French.
Yeah.
He wants to so that's why he's holding a dictionary with the synonyms of French and Israeli and Hebrew. Yeah.
Okay.
That's why the film is called Synonyms, because throughout the whole film, he is trying to, remember the new words and new vocabularies in French.
He's like, while he's trying to find himself, he's also literally trying to find his voice or his way to express himself.
Yeah.
Through these synonyms.
Exactly. Ooh. He's trying to find a way to express himself and then to throw away his identity as someone from Israel. But that is his hope. But
Yeah.
in Paris, he's actually exploited, I would say.
Yeah.
Exploited in terms of he is asked to do pornography, but then this is apparently kind of sexual exploitation on the masculinity of Yoav. He's an Israeli man. He's very masculine. He's very strong because that
That's
also
a core part of his identity.
Yeah.
Like, he really likes to express himself in a very strong and masculine way.
Yeah, that is also a symbolism of the Israeli nationality in this film. And he's also exploited because his stories, there's a writer that accepts Yoav and he invites Yoav to live with him. But then this writer asks Yoav to tell his stories from Israel. And then this writer takes these stories and publishes them as his own stories.
No.
So this is another exploitation, right? Exploitation of the tales, the stories. So this whole film is like this. Yoav being exploited again and again. And, he's trying to be French. But maybe France does not accept Yoav. Maybe France is trying to push Yoav away. So, yeah, that's the whole movie. That's the sense of the movie. Yeah.
Can I ask you how it ends? I always do this.
How it ends?
Yeah.
It ends with spoiler alert.
Yeah, this is for everyone else. I warned you before. This is your second warning. Here we go.
Yeah, so I said that the writer actually accepts Yoav and invites him to live with him, right?
Yeah.
But later on, at the end of the film, Yoav was closed outside of the house. And Yoav was trying to, hit the door and then saying, help, 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 help. I want to go in. But Yoav could not go in. So it's also a visual symbolism of, the door is shut. Not just the door of the writer, but also the door of France. Yeah.
Oh my God. And then it just ends that way. Like he's just stuck.
Yeah.
It's very European.
Yeah.
It's very
And I would also like to add one fact to after listening to the talking about the movies, because I said that this is a French movie, right?
Yeah.
The whole movie is in French. But the director Nadav Lapid, he is Israeli. He's from Israel. And then he moved to France a few years back to learn, making films.
Yeah.
So this is basically based on his own experience. Moving from Israel to France, trying to become French. But, from this story, we can probably see that somehow the director, Nadav Lapid, he's not accepted by the French society or in certain ways.
Like, it is also meant to be like a direct from life commentary. Not only is it like an artistic commentary based on like gathered experiences, but he's sitting there like, no, this was my experience in your country, France. This is a French film, so I'm coming at you.
Yeah, so the whole setting, it really, it's just like his own life.
Wow. Man, and also like very topical, I would say too. Good pick.
Yeah.
So like it's very sad for listeners out there who might have wondered why I said it's very European. A trend that I find very interesting, having like not recently, but like after I started like getting into international films, was finding that a lot of films that are not from America have very open endings.
Yeah.
And like you just kind of have to, the idea is to make you like sit with the final feeling. And I guess one of the closest examples I can think of from America is like Inception. When it's like you don't know what
it's
the
like
end's going to be.
Big cliffhanger. And yeah, it's there.
And then it's never going to be answered. So like that's a very, I think, common practice. I almost said theme, but it's like a very common practice, I think, for films outside of North America.
Yeah.
And definitely outside of the United States, because I'm not really familiar with like Mexican filmography or like Cuban filmography, anything like that. But so I appreciate the artistry of just leaving you hanging with this like tragedy.
It's kind of like when we're looking at the story theory, we have narrative curve, right? So throughout the end of the curve, you have falling action. You have a steady ending. But in European films, most of the time, they don't have a proper ending.
Yeah. They just kind of leave you falling.
Yeah.
They don't wrap it up.
Yeah, right. So you won't know how far you're going to fall.
Right. It's true. For the tragedies, it's especially hard. I remember, though, I did hear it explained to me one time that somebody said, I think it was from a European I met when I was traveling, She said the idea is just that this is like a snapshot in this person's life. So we're not telling you their whole life. Like, we're not going to tell you how the rest of it wraps up. This is just like, this is that period of time. And then their life, as long as they haven't died, like their life will go on after this, and it's up to you to kind of like fill in what you think might have happened.
Yeah.
So, well, Wanson, now, right, again, I find myself getting into the weeds because I just love talking about theory. But back to my normal questions. What was your first encounter with this movie?
So actually, before watching this movie, I was not a big fan of European art house film. And I encountered with this movie in 2020. I saw an advertisement on the internet.
Yeah.
It's kind of like internet ad. And I missed this movie at first because I didn't go to the cinema to watch it. But then I watched it on the streaming service.
Might not have been able to see it in 2020 in the movies. Things were getting a little dicey around that time.
Yeah, right. So I think I watched it in 2020 or 2021 later on streaming service. And that is my first time watching a French art house film. So
really,
that's why this film really means a lot to me personally. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, well, let's get into that. So then what did you find in it? What meaning did you find personally in this film?
So I think personally, this film really teaches me how much symbolism can appear in a film.
Well, you highlighted a lot of it in your summary, like very clear, very powerful symbolism that was going on.
Yeah, and there's even more, like visually. So I didn't realize that film can be in this way. So Nadav Lapid, he's someone who loves to do shaking shots, like shaking and then
like an unsteady camera, right?
It's not just unsteady, but shaking aimlessly, even to somewhere up there to a tree, and then shaking again and down there.
Wow.
And this is crazy. Because I know that Lapid loves doing this because I watched, the Taipei Golden Horse Film Festival.
Yes.
Yeah, they did a special program for Lapid in 2021. So I watched other films.
So you became
Lapid.
familiar with his filmography, and you were like, "Oh, he's just a shaker. Like that's just his thing." Like,
yes, he's a shaker.
Yeah.
Because I watched his earlier films, The Kindergarten Teacher, and that one is also contains a lot of shots shaking and shaking.
Well, as someone who used to work as a kindergarten teacher, I feel like that does sometimes get to the feeling of trying to wrangle a bunch of very small, energetic children that don't want to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Shaking does feel like a good way to get that feeling across.
Yeah, I think like Lapid's shots, like using the shaking, he gives us a sense of the character is like thinking about something, questioning something, and then not sure about where the character is, where he is, where am I, what I'm thinking about. I don't know what's happening. So
the uncertainty or anxiety of the main character is portrayed that way.
So in the synonyms, when Yoav.
Yeah, sorry, I got you off target. So
when Yoav is like thinking about the synonyms and trying to remember the French vocabularies, the shots started to shake. The lens is like shaking again and again and again. I think it's also something deep down in his subconscious. Like he's not sure whether he should be moving to France, whether this is a place for him. So there is a sort of questioning of the belongings, where I am belong.
Right.
Am I French? Should I be French? And why these French people are doing this to me? So this is a
why
really,
if I'm trying so hard, like why won't you accept me?
Yeah. Also, like following this idea, this is also important for me because I am someone who has been trying to. I study foreign languages and literature.
Of course,
so you can expect that I love something from, other countries.
Yeah.
And I have this dream of living abroad.
Yeah.
And I always have this picture of myself.
I relate to that. Yeah.
Maybe like 10 years or 20 years later, I'll be living somewhere outside of Taiwan.
Yeah.
So maybe this is the problem that I'll encounter. Maybe 10 years later when I'm moving to another countries. Will that country accept me as I expect?
Right.
Yeah. So this is definitely a question that I'll be asking myself.
It's a very intimidating idea to want to go settle somewhere, and the wonder of like, to what level would you be accepted, you know? So then why would you consider Synonyms to be a tale of our time?
So I think the Tales of Our Time, this is the name of the show.
Yeah.
Synonyms.
There we are. They're both fine.
Right. So this Synonym, this film, it not only talks about identity issue, but also criticize the Republican value of France. Like maybe they're not real. we always talk about equality and being liberal, all these values that we take as granted. But sometimes maybe we are not doing that in reality.
Yeah.
So in this film, there's, Yoav, he's trying to become French, right? So he has to take a lesson from the French government, teaching him basic knowledge of living in France. So the teacher tells Yoav that, in France, we accept the expression, the freedom of expression. We accept different kinds of opinion and different values.
Respect everybody's values. We're a multicultural society.
Yes. But then the teacher tells these people that, but in France, particularly for our government, we believe there's no God. But like Yoav, he's from Israel, right?
Even if he's trying to run from that, or if he doesn't share that, like, it's a very deep cut to be like, but actually get rid of that.
Yeah. So he's like, so what does that mean? So you're not accepting me? And and that this is me. I'm trying to express myself. Why are you silencing me? And also visually, during the scene, you can see that through the window, Yoav is actually like in a cage.
Like it's one of those like cage windows.
The classroom is like a cage.
Ooh.
Yeah. And Yoav is like being imprisoned in the classroom. So I think it really reflects, the sometimes the ridiculous things of our value. Yeah. We sometimes want to do these modern values, but we're actually not doing that. So it's a great reflection for us to do.
It's all like lip service.
Yes.
And then also like sometimes of like what is the definition for what could be someone of your country? Like pick any nationality, American, Taiwanese, French, right? And is it actually as broad as you want it to be? Is it truly like, because this is something like that I think Americans wrestle with a lot. It's something that comes up a lot in our society because like a very common theme is the idea of like a melting pot. Yeah. It's like everyone comes in and you can change, you can be that way. But a huge criticism of that is like, what type of person? Like, is it a very narrow definition? Like, does everyone have to look the same way or believe the same way to really be accepted? Or
maybe like white people.
Right, exactly.
In
like a white
US.
Christian person. In the US would be the American, quote unquote, American ideal, right? Or like American default. But that's not reflective of like everybody who's there. And I think based on what you're saying, I feel like there's probably a similar discussion in France, right? About like what counts, quote unquote, what counts.
Yeah. Like when
French.
you see French government, they ask women like, how do you call them? The Muslim women.
Was this the hijab thing?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Hijab thing. Yes, exactly.
I'm getting too loud because I got heated.
Yeah, the hijab thing. Like that's how French government treats people with different religion.
Well, and
like they ask the women to cover themselves,
or to not cover themselves,
not to cover themselves on the beach because they're afraid of terrorism.
But like
this is their religion. This is their tradition.
But also okay, it gets like so into like stereotypes and like the frankly like unfair and like cruelty of like assimilation versus like acceptance. Yes. Like, do we accept people here? Or do we only accept you as long as you match us? So, okay. I feel like we could go back and forth on this for a very long time. Yeah. But we are out of time. So it goes so fast. But do you think... Whoa, I even lost my train of thought. I got so mad about the hijab thing all over again. So, Wanson, if you could give Synonyms a one-phrase subtitle of your very own, what would that be?
It would be finding your identities.
Finding your identities.
Yeah, it's plural.
With plural.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. Just like Yoav.
Right.
I was like, don't say the director's name. Don't say the director's name. I mean, very fitting.
Yes.
Like, okay. I have to let it go. So, Wanson, thank you for joining me on my show today. I really appreciate you coming in.
Thank you for having me.
I've had so much fun. And I hope that everybody out there also had fun learning more about synonyms. This has been Tales of Our Time on Radio Taiwan International. And I was your host, Amanda Stevens, joined by my guest and co-host, Wanson. Do check out his show, Cinematic Motif, also found on RTI.com. And I hope you all enjoyed learning more about synonyms, finding your identities, a tale of our time. We'll see you next time.